Life-altering choices, yours. Life-altering choices are choices you make that take your life in an entirely different direction. If you analyze your past, you'll find they are littered with decisions that take your life into different directions. Some of these crucial choices are life-altering. Looking back into your past, what life-altering choices have you made? In reading A.J. Global's story, years ago he made a choice to contact his friend in Vegas. Where would he be if he didn't make that choice? If he chose something different? Years ago, I chose to move to Phoenix from Chicago. If I didn't make that choice, and chose to continue to live in Chicago, my life would be so different. In fact, I'd speculate that I might even be dead, or working some meaningless job strung out on antidepressants. My choice to move out of Chicago was a life-altering choice. If you don't have any, or can't find one, perhaps it's time you make one? Is not making one holding you back? So far my biggest choice was quitting my job building elevators. If I had not, I wouldn't have went to a birthday party for a family member. I spoke with my uncle and his business partner there and expressed my interest in business. A week later they called me and offered to give me a job so I can learn the business. If I didn't make that choice, I would still probably be driving to DC at 4 a.m. in the morning, climbing 15 flights of stairs 20 times a day, freezing or sweating my ass off. Now I have a great opportunity to become a partner in the company within a couple of years. I'm not sure I want to do it for the rest of my life or if I will find another direction before then. However, it has been my best choice so far. I have learned a lot of valuable lessons being here. At the same time, my uncle has become my wealth mentor. I've never really had one of those moments that really changed my life, yet. However, just from simply talking to people, I've gained a lot of knowledge which has, over time, put me on the path I want to be on. One of those good decisions was to allow my mom to drag me to a garage sale where I picked up our DPD for the first time for about $50. Needless to say, it was worth a hell of a lot more than that. It's opened my mind to the world of business at an early age, giving me a clear advantage over my peers. Hopefully, it will pay off big time in the future. I had one on June 15, 2006. I was driving my daughter home from her music lessons in my vet. Was not in RE and was trying to figure out how to get in. We were cruising about 60 miles per hour and jam into some Boston. Out of the blue a minivan pulled out in front of us. I could have hit him in the pass door but chose to slam on the brakes and swerve to my right to avoid him. That action put me in front of him and he hit me in the driver's door at about 30 miles per hour, totaled the car, scared my daughter, and no one was hurt. A month later I invested the settlement in income-producing properties. 6 months later I got my second property. Now we are looking for more and my renters may be buying me another sports car shortly. Cheers. You are young, so I wouldn't expect many of your choices to be lax. However, sometimes the seemingly meaningless choices take us in a different direction. An example is this forum. You to join. That choice could give you $1 million idea, or give you the opportunity to meet a business partner, or pave the way to a different road. Seems like a simple choice. I'm gonna join this forum and participate, yet, its impact could be far-reaching. I definitely understand where you're coming from. I feel like my journey has just been a combination of decisions that have just snowballed to bring me to where I am today. My luck would be purchasing our home. It was our first investment and I was very hesitant about it, but it showed me that investment opportunities are possible and that we can do it. In addition to that, we are now actively looking for our next investment. I have a few, A major one was simply going to a restaurant a few years back, 2001, where a buddy of mine worked. I didn't see him, so I asked a waitress, "Where's John?" She told me he had gotten a job doing engineering, and since he owed me a favor, I called him up and found out they had one more opening. From there, I met another good friend of mine who I decided to rent my first house from. In talking to him, I started on my path to learning all about the wonderful world of self-accountability, and exactly how rewarding it can be to have excess cash as a result of your own diligence. Jason. I am about to make one. I was offered a job that pays pretty well in Atlanta area, but that is not where I would like to be, so I turned it down. So I am headed out to Phoenix to be near my family with hopes that something will come along so that I can get things started. I do have a couple of business ideas that I am working on right now, and I have my wife behind, so I will make it work. Rob. I think a big life-altering choice for me was that I decided to change my mindset and remain positive and ignore the abundance of negative influences out there. I will not listen to someone who tells me I cannot do something, rather I like the people who tell me how. It is a simple difference in mindset, but is definitely life-altering. Most people will never become wealthy simply because of their closed mind. This is the first step. The tougher choices now are making large investments because I have 3 children and I have to provide for them first and foremost, which handcuffs me a bit when it comes to taking risk. This is what is difficult right now, but I will make it. So true, Speed++. My first life-altering choice was to buy my first home. I did it against all odds, very little money, no credit and small salary, and I made it work for 8 years. The second life-altering choice I made was getting into real estate full-time. For years I had been functioning way below my potential, and I finally feel that I am now on track to live life to my fullest potential. I am currently at another crossroads in my life, and I feel that things will come to a head in the very near future. I suppose life-altering choices are never easy to make, that's why they are life-altering. I try to view a new situation in terms of what is there to gain and lose. If there is more to gain and less to lose, I go for it. Carpe diem. Not sure if it will be life-altering, but I've been getting along extremely well with a coworker, and we've been talking stocks and business a lot, and we're meeting up this weekend sometime to see if we can get something going. Edit. I'd also like to add that reading How to Make Money in Stocks by William J. O'Neill and subscribing to his been extremely helpful. Taking my last $500 out of checking when I had about $500 in credit card debt to start a Scottrade account in order to finally stop wishing about one-day trading and getting into it. I know that paying that balance would have been a good idea, but at the time I felt like I had to finally let go of tomorrow and cross that line. First trade, no money. Second trade, made $40. Was ecstatic thinking that I didn't really have to work for that money. Third trade, up 25% ROI. I am now in love with trading and somehow someway aim at having my portfolio reach $5,000 within 2 weeks. This is 4 months after I had $500 in my checking and no dreams of having this much money. I can go on forever with finding the courage to stop caring what others thought about me so much that it hamstrings my success and joy of life, to grabbing my balls and talking to girls over and over and getting rejected tons to finally reach a point where I have multiple girls interested in me. One I would like to highlight is the point when I realized that I wasn't on the path to grow up into the man I wished to be. It was a difficult ego-shattering moment of clarity that allowed me to stop lying to myself and accept that I have things to learn. From then on, I have found it much easier to say I do not know. But I am willing to learn. Out of a few, here's one that pretty much sparked a big shift in my thinking. In May 2004, my wife and I visited my family in Germany, where I'd lived until the age of 19. Of course I had to go by the Lamborghini dealership just outside of Munich, a place I'd visited weekly with my father when I was young. Since the age of 9 I had dreamed about owning one, but always maintained the mindset of only if I win the lotto. Over the years my passion took a back seat, until that visit. It reminded me how much I loved Lamborghini. Back in the USA I decided to share my pictures and signed on to a Lamborghini forum, I wish I remembered who said it, but after giving the lottery line one of the members said to me, "You don't have to win the lottery to fulfill your dream. Anybody can reach that goal with the right idea and hard work." That was the moment a switch in my mind was flipped and I knew I could fulfill my dream. It's been an up and down, well, mostly down battle since, but I know in my heart that one day I will sit in my own Diablo. Another lack is signing up for this forum. Very true. A seasoned innkeeper put it this way: the customer is always right. In their own mind. So it's pointless to debate something. Acknowledge that they feel they are right, and move on. A big aha, along with dramatic behavioral changes. Been down these same roads. Great insights, Janet. Rep Speed Russ H. You are describing a limiting belief. I hear that all the time when I get asked the perennial question, how much does something like that cost? And when I tell them, I hear, wow, that's more than my house, I could never afford that. When I hear this, I mentally shake my head in sadness that this person is already defeated, and his limited view of himself is weak. Most often, it is our own minds that prevent us from succeeding. If only I was smarter, if only I could win the lottery, if only, if only. You can achieve anything when you have the right recipe. Hard work fueled by education, faith, yes, law of attraction fans, for me faith in God and an indestructible mindset that failure is merely a detour, a learning experience, to success. Ground yourself in the peace of knowing that get out there and do it. It's your dream and live every moment. Many military veterans can count numerous life-altering choices. One of mine was not of my making. When I joined the Navy, I wanted to go on a carrier to help me complete a degree. The military has dream sheets of where you would like to be stationed, so I asked for a carrier out of Washington. They gave me a submarine out of Georgia. I fought and fought with them to go to a carrier. No go. A submariner I became, and it is one of the greatest things that could have ever happened to me. I have made lifetime friends and my chest swells with pride when I think about all I accomplished on that boat. It also turned out to be easy to obtain my degree, lol, who knew? When I reflect on what happened, it makes me grin. When the boat of life takes you off your charted course, make the most of it and you just may enjoy the port call on the other side. That was or is one of the hardest lessons for me to learn. For reasons I will not get into, I am deathly afraid of failure and the often resulting ridicule. But on the other hand, I've always had the warrior mentality. I'd rather go down fighting than not fight at all. Death before dishonor. It sounds a little silly, but my decision to continue on a date with a much older man. I was in college and chatting or meeting people online and met a man who was 30 years my senior, although I did not know it until we met. I could have turned around and walked out, but instead I decided to be nice. He was chairman of the board of a large company and I was able to view business from that standpoint. I was eating cup of noodle for dinner which cost me $20 and he was having $700 dinners. Before, my goal was just to live as comfortably as my parents, and after dating him, I wanted more than that. Ironically, after him, I ended up dating another chairman of the board. While I wanted the lifestyle that the money afforded them, I did not want to spend my life working crazy hours or traveling so much for business. Anyways, I look back on that experience as opening a whole different world to me, one that I did not even consider. My most recent decision was leaving my job. I had ended up working long hours for good pay, but I was miserable and unhappy. While I have more than enough on my hands with our investments and business, it feels strange not going to a workplace. I was very much defined by my job. Now I am trying to define myself as a person without the title constraints. I do enjoy the flexibility that I have in structuring my day, but I am still adjusting. My most recent lack was deciding to continue my education. This past summer I received my associated degree, and after that I continued to work at my dead-end job. I looked around and said, how can I get ahead of these people? Start my own company or continue my education? I decided on going back to school. I realized that if I did not make this decision, my only choice would be to start my own company. Currently, I am a student and have 2 more years until I receive my bachelor's degree. I plan on starting up my own company though before I receive my degree. One of my first lack was to ask a neighbor how they could afford to travel all the time. I pet sat for a couple and noticed that they were always on vacation. The wife didn't work, found out later that she managed their investments, and the husband wasn't exactly making big bucks. Small town. Everyone knows everyone else's salary. I was a shy kid, didn't want to get in anyone's business, but I just had to know. It was then that I found out that successful people are normally very generous and open about their knowledge, and that the only thing holding me back from having that knowledge too was the fear of asking. One of my biggest recent lacks was to quit my full-time corporate gig to take summers off to write and business build. Years ago, I was listening to my sister, a teacher, talk about what she was doing with her summer and found myself envying her the time off. My mum always told us that jealousy is about you, not the other person. It is a sign of what you want. So I decided then and there that I'd find a way to take summers off. If teachers can take summers off, why can't the rest of us? How did I do it? I didn't want to touch my passive income, so I lined up contract gigs at increased charge-out rates during the rest of the year so that I'm making the same $s in 8 months as I was making in 12. This past summer was my 3rd off, and my first novel will be published next summer. Having the time has opened up so many opportunities. I love it. It's awesome that you were able to find a way to do what you love and position yourself to make money at it also. This is how life is supposed to be. Janet. I'll add to this, my life never really had direction. I was somewhat shunned for not going to college by my family. Not to be mean, but to try and convince me it was the right thing to do. Skipping by some history of me, I ended up getting my general contractor's license after being a realtor for a few years. I did spec houses, which didn't go well. I did additions and remodels for a while. It went okay, but not what I really wanted to be doing. While floundering about, a trip back to California, where I and my wife were from, showed me what I had been missing and how expensive life really was outside of the Carolina life I had known for the then 8 years. I decided that since my wife wanted to stay where we were, that I had to do something. We at the time had 2 rental houses bought and lived in both, starting at the ripe age of 23, and the house we were in. We sold the 2 rentals, and 1,031 one of them mother was inside the 2-year rule, so we pocketed the dollar. That sale changed our lives. I took the $1,031 and turned the gains into 3 new homes that I built as a GC. I pre-sold one of them and refinanced the other 2 after finalized construction. I then learned the system of turning the dollar into other properties and didn't stop build rentals until about 1 or 2 years ago. Along the way we sold a few as we built, generating more capital, kept a few at the time rates were relatively high for investor, 30 years fixed 7.1 or 4%. The prime rate came down, which offered construction dollar at 5.1 or 4%. At one point I floated one loan for 2 years since it was cheaper than fixed perm rates. Long story shorter, I figured out the system and used it for all I could. We still have 10 SFRs and 2 small commercial properties, as well as a few vacant lots and one Ocean View Beach lot that at one time was up about 500% from where we bought it. I found my calling, landlord. I listened to a lot of different people along the way. Sometimes it took a while for the info to sink in. Immature, found people to work with and for me, and amassed a nice little nest egg, and all before age 35. I am now venturing into my first money lending of $300,000 to a friend for his franchise auto repair building. 20 years veteran in the bus. The money will be coming from equity built up in my rentals that I intend to reef out. I'll go in the hole with that, but come back ahead with his payments to me. And if he defaults, I get a nice building. I live a passive income life. My wife has a nice steady income as a teacher and life is good. Thank the almighty real estate and finance system, HL. Don't know where I'd be without it. Somewhere in all that about 6 years ago, I bought the remnants of a small business from a friend who was going out of business. I turned it over to my semi-retired father, who has turned it into a $3 or $4 million valued company in these years since. It grows every year and completely supports my life. I always try to help anyone that asks for my experiences and hope that I have turned others onto my ways and means. It's a great way to exist, and I highly recommend it. But you must be detail-oriented and pay a lot of attention. Easy money. I'm not sure what's cooler, your story or the fact that you have quote by Sebastian Bach in your signature. Great story. Kevin S. Orchard Park, New York. LOL, both cool and both true. Your screen name wouldn't have anything to do with a certain guitar player's son and an album name from years past via that same guitarist, would it? I deserved more reputation. Speed don't I rock on my 80s brother, icon_super. Easy. Yes, it certainly does. Being 39 years old, we both grew up in that great era of music. I've followed VH very closely for years, seen them in concert every tour since 1984, and I'm pretty excited for this tour, which starts in your area. I am going to hop over to your other thread about construction loans as I have a lumber question. Thanks. Kevin S. Orchard Park, New York. I never saw VH with Roth and the show here is already sold out, I heard. That era music is the only thing I listen to even these days. Most of the new stuff is crap. Say what you will about makeup and big hair, most of those guys of that era were or are way more talented with one hand than most of the new artists out there today. Although the guitar solo is coming back as well as some depth and dynamics of detail in the arrangements. But we are getting off tangent here, back to the regularly scheduled programming. My life-altering choices happened in the same year. I was 22 on the path they send you down, knowing that things didn't seem right, college and all that crap. I decided to move back home with my parents. I was going to college in a neighboring city and had to drive. Got a job at a restaurant where on my second day my soon-to-be wife walked in the door. Now I am not one for love at first sight, but boy do I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember everything about her and knew I had to pursue this girl. 4 months later we were engaged, 1 year later married, and we just celebrated our 6-year anniversary on Sept. 8th. That same time I joined my first network marketing company, which later became a failure but huge learning experience. We did well enough from the get-go to hobnob with the big dogs in the company and opening my eyes up to the end of the rainbow, so to speak. On the negative side, the failing of that biz made me question a lot of things and have to overcome many challenges internally, which made my 20s tough. I lost focus and wasn't sure how to proceed. That is starting to change with the help of others like yourselves. I am not at my destination yet, but I'm on the way and know I'll get there. I am enjoying the process thus far. My next step is to set some big goals that are achievable, as I've seen others here accomplish them B or C of their beliefs. This time period also made me sit down and start setting goals at the beginning of each year, which 80 to 100% of them always are accomplished. Some I have no idea how, but we make it. For X. We had a bunch of C or C debt over the last 5 years. Our goal was to pay off 3 C or C in 2007. As of today, we did it. Dream big, Joe. Many. Quitting a very high-paying job, knowing that my health and my family were more important. 2001 Setting a financial goal and getting it accomplished after the above life-changing event which left us bankrupt. 2005 Picking up and moving across the country to move forward toward financial independence and retirement. 2006 Taking action with real estate investing. 2007 Always having the faith that I don't need to worry about anything because good or bad, deep inside I know the truth is that everything will work out. Wanted to respond to this when it was first posted but was having probs posting till today. Thanks again MJ. A lack for me was going to Tony Robbins' 3-day seminar, Unleash the Power Within. A friend had gone to a few of his seminars and convinced me to go to get out of my rut and push forward. It totally set my life on a different path. Looks cheesy on the outside but spend 3 very intense days with this guy and you'll come out feeling like you can take on the world. I even walked on fire, which is just a metaphor. If you can walk on fire with your bare feet you can do almost anything. What I appreciate about his approach is that he's direct. Works for me. I got so much out of it I volunteered the following year as a way of giving back and walked on fire again. Added bonus, it's a great place to network with outstanding successful people. SMXB. Lakh €, deciding to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which led me to purchase the €3 Wordpt Classics €, Cash Flow 101, Sales Dog, Be a Multi-Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and the Choose to Be Rich program among a handful of other books. This also led me to the Rich Dad Poor Dad forums, which led me to the Fast Lane forums. Wow, this forum alone has been pretty life-changing. I have found many interesting things out about myself over the past couple months. For example, 1. I started putting together a real estate deal for a co-worker in foreclosure, started getting excited and then found out that it wasn't a TMT going to happen. Without any investment except some time in brainstorming I felt crushed. Unconsciously negative thoughts started to creep in and I felt my body chemistry start to change. It took the rest of the day of me fighting off these bad thoughts to get €I to euro again. 2. I have to do it I spend way too much time trying to become master TM of something before I even try to do it, which probably stems from the emotions I mentioned above. 3. I need help. TM I'm not going to be able to do this on my own. 4. I work a shit job for shit money because it is almost 100% stress-free, comfortable, and close to home. Recently I have started discussing a lot of the RDPD with a close friend of mine. I find it almost necessary to have someone I can teach and bounce ideas off of. We TM LLC where this step leads. Coming up ahead I have an internship to complete for school and will be finishing my first degree by the spring or summer semester 2008. For me, my lack so far has been the complete 180 change in the way I think and view things. I used to have so many limiting beliefs running around in my head it cracks me up to think back on them. This is as recently as 3 years ago, my freshman year in college. College has expanded my horizons. So far I am a different new person. I have committed to real estate and business as my vehicle for success. Instead of thinking how I don't have the skills, never been the best math person, I can't make my mind stop thinking about what I need to do to reach those goals. I can't make my mind stop thinking about the countless opportunities out there. I can't make my mind stop thinking about my next move. I instinctively shut out negativity, whether in the media or from people around me. It has become habit to block out negativity and replace it with positive thoughts. Positive reaffirmations have done wonders for me. I'm to make my life-altering choice, moving to Oklahoma from Georgia to live with my girlfriend. She's the one, my future wife. She has 2 children, 5-year-old boy and 10-year-old girl. Daughter does not live with her, but son does. I'm not yet financially free and will need to relinquish the few SFHs I have here, not just for the financial cushion, but because I'm not in a position to manage out-of-town properties yet. I'm planning on this move at the end of December to kick off the new year and this next defining chapter of my life freshly. I'm living with my mother currently, hold the applause, please, and have suffered from a cycle of complacency with a life that won't allow me to grow. Based on my personal and especially financial goals, I need to be able to do a lot of growing. It amazes me how I can be so ready and willing to take big risks in some areas, namely, financially, but cower from others. I've been teased and taunted and even, surprisingly, constructively criticized about the position I've been leaving myself in. My queen, one of many nicknames I have for my girl, has even challenged me on it in the warm and loving way that only she can. My ego is such that I don't like to show my weaknesses. A weakness in auto repair, or journalism, or kayaking, or anything else, I'll freely admit to. It's areas like these that humble me most. Risks that involve putting my wallet on the line are one thing, those that call for putting my deepest emotions and even my psyche on the line have been a tough arena for me. But it's all good. When I'm finished, my girlfriend will finally get to live like a queen, her son like a prince, and her daughter like a princess. It's nice to be able to clearly see the land on the other side of a scary bridge. My lack was to keep my daughter. I was 22 PG, not married, just moved back home after being out of the house since I was 18, just got out of a really bad relationship and was only dating the guy who got me PG for a short time, less than 1 month. He asked me to marry him and against all advice not to, I did. 8 years later, still going. He's the only person in the world who truly believes in me. And without his support I have no idea where I would be right now. When I was PG I got sick right away. And ultimately disabled after giving birth to her. It was a horrible time in my life. I got very depressed after I learned I would never hold a job again. I felt useless. Which, being the person I am, useless, led me to thinking. I decided I needed to find a way to make money without working. So I first started out with work from home stuff. Didn't take me long to figure out that wasn't going to work, lol. Then I started reading every financial book I could get my hands on. About a year or so into it I found RDPD. Read that and everything started to make sense. Took me quite some time to find my path. Now that I've chosen one, I'm working towards my goals. Goals that would have been unimaginable had I not had my daughter. Now I know life isn't hopeless just because I can't work. I have a plan and goals and am slowly but surely doing it my way. You never know where life may lead you when you make decisions. Who would have thought at 22 that I'd become disabled and never able to work again? It ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. In many ways I believe my daughter and my husband saved my life. Had I not gotten PG I surely would have ended up back with my abusive psychotic ex. Bump for the newbies, life ain't going anywhere. Make a life-altering choice. Several people that posted here are all. I wonder where they are now? Present and still chugging along. Just finished a good size addition to my house, 1,300 plus SQFT, businesses are holding up so far, just waiting for the world to have an economic implosion. Perhaps a new thread, where are they now? I can think of several regulars who disappeared. Well, let's see, I'm a lot younger than a lot of you guys, so I'll probably be able to answer this better in a decade. Anyway, my lack happened to me when I was very young. I was probably 11 or 12. I was from a very young age into fishing and boating, thanks to my dad. Anyway, I remember seeing all those big 60 feet plus sport fish and thinking, wouldn't it be nice to own one of those? After finding out that taking care of one of those boats costs more than the average American's salary, on top of the several $1 million purchase price, I figured there had to be another way. My mom gave me the RDPD book, and I took it from there. I figured out pretty young that I was never going to get rich working for someone else. Recently, after not really liking selling I figured I had to start moving, so I got control of a couple of building lots without a cent of my money. I love and can't wait for the day when I finish school and can quit my BS job and just invest full time. 1. The decision to leave my fiancé who I knew since I was a kid due to his drug addiction. Yes, I tried to help him first. It wasn't like I just up and left. This was the hardest slack that I have made. We shared a house together, a business, and a dream of financial freedom. He was the one that got me to read RDPD, which changed my mentality. I still do not understand the purpose of this, but I realize that it is my destiny and that I am where I am for a reason. 2. The choice to not re-enter the workforce as an employee after I got laid off at my job over 2 years ago. Nothing will change your life like being told you have a disease that can kill you. When you wake in the hospital and look around, it sure changes your views on things. Health is everything. Money means nothing if you don't have your health. Yup. I was thinking that just the other day too. I would say, my decision not to accept the norm and recondition my mind to be congruent with what I always knew I was capable of in my gut. There are subsequent decisions that fall thereafter, like moving, quitting the job, disciplined activities now for extended freedom later, but I don't think those would have been possible had I not made a choice to change my mind. When upbringing, social imposition, and daily surroundings are conditioning you to go with the norm, changing your mind can be quite challenging. However, willingness and perseverance to do so opens the floodgates once you begin. Absolutely epic IMO. Lots and lots I can think of. Hackjack, probably the biggest few are. I'm about to make a couple of big lacks. In the coming months I'll be leaving my job to work on my business full time. I'm to the point where it doesn't make financial sense to still be working the job. It is limiting my business growth majorly. Also, as soon as I can sell my house in Michigan, I'm moving to Oregon. I want to get away from the worker mentality that plagues most in Michigan. I feel that most here try to pull you down to their level. Also, everyone seems angry all the time. My brother is working on a startup on the West Coast and he tells me that the mindset there is completely different. While folks in the Midwest try to keep you at their level, the folks on the West Coast tell you to go faster and faster. That's where I need to be. BTW, I read MJ's story on the road forums back in 2003 to 2004 and I've been inspired ever since. So thanks for the years of motivation. As far as small choices that turned out to be life-altering, following the link in someone's sig line to this forum, visiting some old roommates, and meeting my best friend through a room for rent ads, buying some vacation rentals, meeting Kerry Wilder missions. Wow! So many lacks along the way. But the ones that were major sea changes for me were a little less significant so far while these last two haven't produced a change in my life just yet, I believe they may prove to be among the most significant, in the long run. I'm seeing a lot of baby decisions that make huge impacts. Web surfing, deciding to go somewhere, check out the thread for a real examination of choices and their trajectory. In no particular order. 1. Read Stranger in a Strange Land. Robert Heinlein was the tipping point for me and the religion I was raised in, devout, and very conservative Lutheran. 2. Stopped smoking weed. Totally changed my life. 3. Decided to drop out of school and follow my dreams instead. 4. Decided that I wanted to be a writer. My friends thought I was full of crap. 5. Decided to go to a meeting of custom electronic installers after a panel discussion at an electronics show. A year later, I was an officer on the board of directors, being interviewed by the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and I was working one-on-one or Dolby Labs, Paramount Pictures, and Lucasfilm. 6. Decided to try out online dating. Met better, more suitable partners there than I ever had in the real world. Met my wife there. Russ H. Which actually makes for being a good writer, you need something to write about. My life-altering choices: 1. My friend bought me a Lamborghini Diablo poster for my birthday, which has sparked a passion for the brand, which led me to the forum Lambo Power, whose members' lifestyle simply fascinated me and led to me surfing the site regularly for years, especially the business section, which has led to me reading a thread called Any Good Entrepreneur Forums, and that's when MJ posted a link saying he just launched an entrepreneur forum and everyone should check it. I did. Can you say life-altering choice? 2. My rebellious personality, which always got me into trouble, had me realize early in high school that the pre-planned life society had for me, getting good grades, going to college, marrying your high school sweetheart and getting a good stable job with good benefits, isn't what I wanna follow. The real life-altering choice here was having the guts to actually stick to my dreams while everyone is laughing at me, hence the screen name BTW. It's tremendously hard, harder than I thought. With my friends and colleagues and sometimes my parents not supporting me, it's been an uphill battle, scary and devastating. Had I not found a place with like-minded people, I'm certain my dreams would have crashed and I would have given up on them and followed that pre-planned life I mentioned earlier. 3. Buying a ticket to Canada back in 2006 when a major war took place in my country. I consider this a life-altering choice for 2 reasons. First, the fact that many rockets fell very close to my home, which could have had fatal consequences had we not left. And the second reason is meeting a family member who turned out to be a very successful entrepreneur at a very young age. Boy, was that a surprise. When he found out about my mindset and goals, he introduced me to many successful entrepreneurs, and during that month I was hanging out with multimillionaires and people who have achieved what I dream of every day. That was an amazing experience. Being able to meet people who achieved tremendous success very early in life made it seem more realistic and possible for me. The inspiration boost that experience gave me is simply hard to describe. No book, article or website impacted me like that. Just out of curiosity, sir, did you ever go back to school and get a degree? Laughed at. I was accepted into school out of high school, a special program. They chose 50 people worldwide each year. The idea was you'd go to college or school intensive curriculum for 6 years, not 8+, and get your MD or BS at the same time. Very intense. When I was a kid, I had really wanted to be a doctor. But that changed as I grew up and started to develop other interests. Was halfway through the program, so I needed just a few credits to get a BS degree. How appropriate. That's what I did. I used to say no Doogie Howser jokes, please, but most folks these days wouldn't even know what that was. Russ H. One day I made a last-minute decision to go snowboarding in Utah for the weekend with a cousin. I almost didn't Euro TMT go because of work. I walked into a store in Salt Lake and said I have to have one of these franchises. 3 months later I quit my job, started the franchise. 3 months later, leveraged the franchise to buy investments. 3 months later, leveraged the investments to buy SHFs. 3 months later, leveraged the SHFs to grow the franchise. 4 years later. This is the time I would have been on a much-needed 3-month sabbatical from my former employer. I was for the most part retired. I rarely miss a snowboarding trip now. I've had quite a few true lack. One, the effects of it, whether good or bad, won't hit me for a few years down the road, and another will be executed at the end of summer. 1. Finally letting into my friends constantly telling me to play soccer in high school. Turns out to be my most favorite thing to do in life so far. I'm constantly playing / watching it. 2. Dropping out of college to pursue a business and to experience life in another country, England. 3. Making the decision to move to England at the end of this summer. We'll see where life takes me on this one, but no matter what, I'll sure enjoy the ride. There are a few other big lack, but these are the most important ones right now. I was out with clients today and they told me one of their life-altering choice. To summarize, husband was 42 and just retired from military. Before going back to a civilian job in the States, the couple decided to buy a boat and sail for a year. They were going to force a year out of it even if they hated it after 2 months. In order for them to survive comfortable with this one-year plan on a military retirement, they knew they had to live light, so they moved to Turkey and rented a $1 million ocean view condo for about $200 a month. Soon after, they purchased a Canadian-made €32 TM sailboat from an American expat. The couple did not speak a lick of Turkish. The only boat experience they had was limited to freshwater lakes in Texas. 12 years later they sold the boat and moved from Turkey to France. Then after 6 years in France they moved to Mexico, and after several years in Mexico they decided to check out Phoenix for an investment property. Their one-year adventure turned into 22 years. They said they were culture shocked after being in the USA for the first time in 22 years. I think it may have been just from being around me. Did I mention the wife was wheelchair-bound as a result from surviving an airplane crash in mountains of Thailand when she was younger? She moved about the boat by scooting around on my butt €. What if they didn't TMT go sailing? He would be your grumpy neighbor complaining every week about how your oleander droppings keep clogging his pool drain. Great stuff, keep 'em coming. Classic. I love meeting people like that. Scooting around a boat on your butt is quite a feat. You know what's interesting? My lack was to go back to church. When I first went back, I was at the absolute worst point of my life after losing my business, and I had so much debt and literally nothing in my pocket, not even $1 to buy a bin burrito. But I prayed for help and direction and prayed for stability and to be able to work towards my vision. From that point forward, a friend of mine hired me and I worked hard and was soon able to buy that burrito, and I continued going to church and praying to be successful. And I remember that it was Easter Sunday of 2010 and my girlfriend and I had a fight, so she went to church without me and I stayed home and watched a program on TV where the speaker listed God's path towards success, and I googled some parts of it and was led to this website. Currently, as many of you know, I opened a trading account and had placed my first trade in a long time yesterday. I am so much happier in my life now than I was before I went back. I do not think that this path to where I'm being led is coincidence, as the lessons I've learned here I believe are important for me to know, for me to be able to advance towards my ultimate goal. Anyway, that was my lack. I was fired from my place of work 2 months ago and have since started building a custom PC to begin my business. I had ideas all the time but never acted on them. Being fired was a blessing in disguise. Although I despise the person who fired me, considering I did nothing wrong, I have not looked back ever since. This forum was a lack for me. I used to wonder why I wanted to do so much more than everyone else. When people would criticize me, I'd let it get to me and wonder if I was aiming for dreams I'd never achieve. But now it makes more logical sense. I'll be ultra successful than anything. 5 or so years from now, I can't imagine it any other way. The only thing that could prevent my success is myself, which to me means the cards are in my favor. I've been making really great ground lately. I will have a great success story in less than 5 years, but I'll try to be conservative. My lack was probably buying RDPD. It totally changed my perspective of where I was at in life and where I was going. It got me off the sidelines from being a dreaming spectator and in the game as a doing player. Even though my first 2 deals were losers, I learned so much from them that I am thankful that I failed. When I first read that book, I was working at a job I hated, making $48,000 a year, and dreamed about owning my own company. Now I still have a day job, but I enjoy it and make 6 figures. I own my own company, getting ready to start another one. I am in the game and loving it. One more thing I'd like to add. I read RDPD when I was in boot camp and it had almost no effect on me. I felt as if it was saturated with way too much BS and I need lead by example information to really buy into it. At 8 p.m. I start reading MJ's story and Fastlane Theory. 8:20 p.m. I finish reading MJ's story. Had instantaneous epiphanies. I knew without a doubt I would make it after that moment. I picked up Beating the Street by Peter Lynch when I was 14 years old. That led me to learn how to read and interpret financial statements before I graduated high school. The stock and real estate markets became open books, easy to read and interpret. I started collecting assets. HRM. I feel every choice you make is life-altering, though you may not recognize how. Today I made a series of lacks. I chose to put the message to my alarm program that says wake up and fight. I stole that from number 33 on this list here, actually. What kind of change will it make? Well, usually when I wake up I don't feel like bringing on the new day. Actually, I feel like I will feel that way when I go to sleep. But when I wake up, nope. I tend to feel like sleeping, and dreaming is as important as saving a princess. So, if I read that message, tell it to myself, and it actually sinks in. I also chose to not go out to eat delicious Chinese food with some of my family. My sinuses were bothering me very badly the other day. The kind where even your ears feel a constant sort of scratching tickling. Yesterday it wasn't so bad anymore. Today, my nose was running all day and my stamina is down a little. So, I chose to stay back, do some light work, and have delicious, nutritious sleep. Perhaps I spared other people of a runny nose. This could affect them at work or home, and alter their lives. Perhaps I gave myself a boost to recover, which should affect mine. Maybe I missed out on hooking up with someone that would have been a blessing in my life. Don't know. But maybe those aren't concrete enough for you. Alright. I was flirting with a girl for a while, but not really all that interested in her. Through me, she met a friend. Through him, she met my best friend who was living in Calgary. He wound up moving down here for 2 months to be with her. Next month they intend to move to Calgary. If I chose to invest more time and interest into her, things would certainly have been different. Of course, most of you are hoping for the biggest life-altering choice. So, since you were patient enough or at least started reading when you skimmed this far, I shall tell you. I would say my biggest lack was coming to a belief that everything which happens provides the person you are today, and everything you've done shapes the people around you as well. Some people might take that in a negative connotation, but for me it means everything good that happened, or will happen, happened only because everything else happened as well. In a weird twisted sort of way, it forces me to respect myself. Because I can't disrespect myself without disrespecting everyone else I've ever come into contact with. Interesting. If someone asked me what my book was like, I'd say it was the bastard love child of RDPD, Your Money or Your Life, Robin and Dominguez and 4HWW Ferris. That means a lot. I really hope the book can accomplish the same effect. One of my life-altering experiences was purchasing our first investment property when we were early 20s. My husband had heard that a local street was going to be turned into a divided highway. It was not out in the news yet, so we made an offer on some land that was used as farmland. We bought it for $2,500.00 per acre. We could only get 6 acres, but it was seller carry with $500.00 down. 6 months later it was worth $10,000 per acre. We held the property and built commercial rentals on it. The property has earned us enough for financial freedom and is worth a couple mil if we were to sell it. There were times when it was a strain to pay the monthly note at the beginning, but even now with the economy issues and more vacancy than usual, our rental income on this property is a good annual net. Nomad, welcome back. I think it is very nice to see you around here again. That is a very cool story. Thanks for sharing. Well, if it's anything like these forums, it'll be great. How it sells comes down to the marketing and how well we, as forum members can help evangelize the message. As far as my lack, I've had too many false alarms, but last week will hopefully be the one that sets me off for good. After avoiding scales for good reason, I finally stepped on and was horrified to find that I weighed 274 pounds. This after I thought the highest I could get was the 265. I was halfway through my frosh of college after way too many ramen noodles, fried food and cafeteria Sundays, as well as quitting football and little to no physical activity. Anyways, since that moment I've been cutting the fat, using my juicer every day, and I got on my bike and did 23 miles. Since then I've made a point to do either a 1-hour bike ride or a 30-35-minute run every day since. Hopefully this will be a lack and not just another false alarm. In addition, like MJ, my wife and I will be moving to Phoenix only part-time for now, as our tax preparation business there is seasonal and we still have family back in Chicago in November. BTW, I was wondering, since some fast learners have been through a series of MLM scams, did you ever have lack as a result of one of these jobs? I know the fast lane is about selling the MLM and not buying into it. However, it seems that experience in an MLM and how it's run can help build business skills to either build your own MLM or non-MLM business. The reason I ask is because I never bought into any myself, although I was close on Quickster and haven't really gotten too involved with any of the jobs I've had, and feel that it hurts my perspective on what it takes to really get a business up and running. So on that front, I have yet to have my financial lack, but I'm hoping that experiencing a tax season will be all I need to either develop a successful S business for part of the year and or build a B business from the experience. My lack was easy. Understanding that freedom is more worth than materialistic things. No job feels better than job to buy things. Love this thread. Attempting suicide, easily. Much easier to just take control of your life when you've already almost ended it. The worst thing that can happen is death, and you very nearly did that to yourself. So what the FCK can anyone else possibly have on you? I always wondered if suicides have a brief instant before death when they feel like complete total morons for doing what they did. And there I was in the hospital, in total agony, every wire and tube in the world hooked up to me, and someone, my dad, asked my doctor what to expect, and I heard it. And I remember just staring up at the ceiling and feeling like the biggest f-king moron. I didn't make any grand pronouncements about how I'd change my act if I lived. I just remember my blood boiling with how moronic I felt. There really is no reason to always shortchange yourself, to not take action. I think of that ceiling at least once a day, and I have come to love it. When I hesitate in doing whatever, I remember that ceiling. I've gotten more mileage out of that moment than any other in my life. Mine came when I started reading self-improvement books. Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad. They are the 3 books that got my mind in the right balance to succeed. Now it's not a matter of if I will be wealthy but how soon, and that all depends on how hard I work towards my goal, so it's all in my hands. Fast lane opportunity, talk about it, on the road. Sounds morbid, but you could help a lot of people out. Suicide is a huge problem. One of my friends lost a sister due to it. You do well in Japan and South Korea, where suicides are as common as rain showers. As far as lacks, I had a few of them. I was depressed when I was 16. My dog and my grandfather had both just passed and I had zero friends. I talked to nobody except my mother, father and grandmother for 3 months. I came out of that depression hungry like the wolf. Don't remember how or what I did, but I ended up getting 2 girlfriends in a few months. The second one, I met on the internet, and I'm still with. I'm no master with girls, of course, but meeting the first one really boosted my confidence. When I realized at the late bloomer age of 16 that there could possibly exist a girl who would actually like me, it was like a whole new world. My second lack was going to visit said girlfriend. I was never allowed to leave the house in high school. But, one day, I left my country with nothing but some clothes, about $1,500 and an address. Took charge of my life. Decided not to let anyone dictate my path. While on that trip, I read the best 2 weeks of my life. It resulted into me moving to Ontario. They say to move for a girl is a dumb idea, but I'm staying here for a few years, no matter what she does. I like Toronto. It doesn't have that underlying awfulness that NYC does. Simple 1, losing weight. Losing weight is entirely a mindset issue, not a physically impossible feat. It is the classic mental mountain in your way. I used to weigh nothing, like 120 pounds soaking wet. My metabolism stopped racing when I hit my mid-20s and I slowly ballooned up to almost 200 pounds. I had fatty rolls, my breath was shorter and I felt like a slob. Rather than blame everything but myself, I just changed. What's better is I did it without forcing my wife to change her eating habits, a common issue people face. I stopped ordering fast food even when my wife still got some. I cut down on junk food, started eating real food, made my own lunches and reduced portions. Within 3 months I dropped 50 pounds safely and am pretty happy where I am. I'm hardly a macho man, but everyone who rolled their eyes at my weight loss plans was suddenly saying, "How did you lose that much weight?" When I told them it amounted to conscious effort and willpower, they stopped listening. You could see their eyes gloss over when the answer wasn't effortless pixie dust. Next up, regular exercise and income replacement. It's crazy how much this resonates with me. It was right before I started my business when I was 13. I never talk to anyone about it, but it's a life changer. There's so much we can do in this life, and I felt like an idiot afterwards. Mine was actually reading, which was 1 year ago, because it changed the way I think. It also inspired me to start making fast lane decisions, such as not counting my house in my net worth, investing in notes and working towards a fast lane business. Before, I was actually closed off to reading RDPD because of all of the Amway people trying to shove it down my throat years ago. After reading TMF, I read RDPD and it opened my eyes even more. I have a newborn son and look forward to the day he reads TMF. Thank you for all of the value you provide, MJ. When I figured it out that there was nothing wrong with me for falling asleep in my first engineering corporate America internship, I discovered that most jobs are boring, no matter how great they sound in the job description. Doesn't matter, I slept 8 hours, drink black coffee, I was falling asleep and it was painful or sad. That's when I started consuming self-help stuff and eventually led me to MJ's books. I resonated with going all in for your goals and not so much on save 10% of your paycheck. Wow, holy epic old thread Batman. But still relevant today, tomorrow, and 10 years from now. Choice equals your steering wheel. The number one thing for me is trusting my own mind and gut instinct. Always questioning everything. From my habits, thoughts, peer group, mindset, environment, my opinions on things. A lot of it was trying to understand reality as it is, which is impossible, but I'm going to try my best and not let my ego or narcissism or the opinions of others get in the way. Man, I know that all too well. It's funny how the event vs process mentality is present in all aspects of life. It's all about patient perseverance. My experience was very similar actually. Losing weight was it at the start, but now I'm looking to increasing my muscle mass as well. Physical health is very important, and I've seen how the path to becoming fit has aided me in other parts of my life. Another would be reading, changed my mentality about life. It changed my priorities, it even changed my friends and the people that surround me. Impressive perspectives here. Mine's a bit weird, I know. It was choosing to blindly follow my at the time high school sweetheart girlfriend, and move cities together. She was going to college there, and I was self-studying, so essentially could have gone anywhere I wanted. As soon as I got there she started treating me terribly. A month into it she dumped me, without really giving a reason. She had an established social circle and life through college, and I was struggling to get on my feet. Left me broken, but made me realize that my happiness and life control was solely based on her. I vowed from then on to control my happiness and my life. Since I've had the craziest 4 months of my life. Started freelancing, met some amazing people, had crazy experiences. I've just started my first proper business, and just booked a flight to Europe. I'll be traveling for free due to my personal brand and connections I've made in freelancing. Although I'm not making much money yet, I feel like I've somewhat escaped the script at 19. None of this would have happened if I stayed in that relationship. I bumped into my ex less than a month back, turns out she isn't doing so good. Funny how life works. Eliminating sugars from my diet, getting down to 10% body fat, standing up for myself and putting myself first, cutting out people who are not good for me, reading books from brutally honest people that helps me make the best decisions that shape my future, realizing people are just that, people. Celebrities or those who have achieved massive amounts have the same insecurities as you, they just pushed through it. That is what makes them human and so admirable. So get off your ass and do the same. My lack to leave the job and start my business back in 2010. I knew nothing about business but I just started it. After some of life's greatest setbacks and failures, I had settled in my business. Everything is going smooth till now. But because the business was not well thought out, it reached its saturation stage. Although it provides me some good money and a good real estate investment, it is not exciting anymore. So another lack is on the way in the near future. The biggest life-altering choice I've experienced happened in my youth. I think I was 15 years old and went often into the library to borrow DVDs and games. For some reason I stumbled to the books section and happened to pick up a book. Before this day I have never read a book voluntarily, and this choice impacted my life forever. I lost myself into self-help and business books and developed myself tremendously. Thanks to MJ and this forum I am on my way to publish my first real project. Without this decision I would probably be like many of my friends from that time. Living in the day without thinking too deeply and with a life which is being led by society and not by me. Now the harder question, should I make any lacks? Is something holding me back? Right now I have to alter my priorities. I changed my contract at work so I can spend more time on my project, but currently I'm spending much time with friends and traveling. I've never had a big work attitude, but I know without it I won't be able to reach the goal I set for myself. I'm not sure if this is a lax, but it's definitely holding me back. I will change my focus. Not next month, not next week or tomorrow. Today. Now. Thanks MJ for asking these questions. I have the feeling that thinking about questions like this are way more effective than just reading thoughts from other people. Many episodes in my life. I went to an elite secondary school where everyone is smart. But soon you realized that being smart is not enough, as everyone worked hard. In college I was introduced to books written by Calvin Newport. Big game changer for people seeking excellence in academia. The dude who started Kinabody Online. This young dude has a good body and making big bucks from it. I should have no excuse in at least being lean. I started calories counting. MJ, Jordan Belfort and Dan Luck. These are the recent inspirations for me as they teach business, sales and entrepreneurship. The Game of Numbers, Professional Prospecting by Nick Murray. It's a book dedicated to my niche now, as I am hitting a ceiling in my performance. I believe it will create an aha moment on my sales results soon. I have had a few of these. One decided to go to university to get a degree in computer engineering. High school was super easy for me. I did very little study, yet I passed most classes except for Algebra 2 Honors 2. Second year of university I was still doing the simple classes. Doing well with very little study. Hard classes kicked in and I had become a gym rat. GPAs started dropping to the point I was to get kicked out. That summer I spent my time reading and learning 8 to 10 hours every single day. My mind became malleable. It's like I had more RAM storage and bigger hard drive. Came back to UNIF and ended up graduating with 3.1 GPA a couple of years later and helped a bunch of my peers back then understand a lot of challenging topics. I was a full-time student and money came from grants and loans. After graduation, I found myself $30,000 in debt. No income. And I had 6 months to start paying back. Spent a good 20 hours building a good resume, so a month after graduation I was to start my first real job in corporate America testing aircraft applications. I felt as my mind and my soul slowly died. The culture at that company was really bad. But hey, I had to pay the bills. I chose to go to school, so 9 months into my job I was free from debt. Quitted the job a month afterward, $2,000 in the bank. Spent the next 9 months learning about e-commerce, digital marketing and building an online business. I tried and tested everything I could but nothing would work. I made a website and a blog to which I drove some 100,000 plus users. The only good thing that came from it is I found people who were willing to send me free products so I could post about them on that website. Few of them would pay commissions as well. Later I came to realize most online businesses or brands take at least 3 years to start building a good online reputation. 9 months was not enough to make anything good of it. I later came to find this study, by their accounts, I was killing it because I actually got some engagement or shares in multiple of the posts I made, but I had clearly picked the wrong niche to be in. By the end of those 9 months, it was clear I needed to do something else. The dream had died. I was defeated, exhausted, burned out. I picked myself up, so I went on job interviews with some software companies. No offers. I altered my resume and tried to land a job having to do with e-commerce. 3 days later I was interviewed. I showed that old website I had, second good thing that came from it. Boom, landed the job at 17 or H. By this point, I had been living on credit card debt. Since I had paid my school loans so quickly, I had an amazing credit score and some of the best credit cards that offered 0% APR for 1 to 2 years. I needed to start paying my debt soon, had like 4 months left. I failed, but I learned from my failures. Applied every trick in the book I learned at my new workplace. The brand recovered and is growing again. The VP left and now I'm there covering most of what he did at a rate which honestly is shit for the value I'm bringing to the company. 8 Found the TFLF. As soon as I saw a few threads on here, I could tell a lot of the people here were legit and not marketers just trying to scam me out of my money. I have been studying this forum very closely and the people that participate in it. I know this is a gold mine and there are many great people contributing. My goal now is to learn enough so I can build a system which is scalable around a niche or micro niche which finally taps into the fast lane universe. I'm organizing all the good information I come across using Trello, and I will one day, if things work out, share with this community what I found which was useful. Right now my goal is to keep learning and keep doing. Keep sharpening my skills and see where I land from here. If I have learned something, learn from experience. Learn from doing. Be willing to fail. Fail a lot. Fail fast. Strings of failures turn in small wins that compound to success. Life can be unfair. Learn from every situation. Adapt and overcome.